Guard 6'2" sophomore from Hawaiʻi, number 30,
What's up, you guys? So, UH men's basketball began their home season anyway at home, of course, at Bankoh Arena at the Sanchara Center against East Texas A&M University. Now, this is a school that used to be known as Texas A&M Commerce, and UH happened to lose to them the last time they were here in November of 2022, and that was off a controversial call where an official called a foul just before Javon McClanahan sank a three-point shot, and it was negated. And that then was pretty much the start of Javon making all those buzzer-beating shots from whatever distance on the court that he was at from the hoop. But still, as you can see on this here, UH would win this game going away 100-74. And last time they ended up losing by 2. But at that time, they were going through all those Jekyll and Hyde games in the Sanchara Center, all because Juan Munoz had gone down with another season-ending injury at the time. So they were able to fix the problem, and they came through with a 100-74 win. But that was an outstanding performance for the University of Hawaii. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But first of all, guys, remember, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I will have one up later today. As a matter of fact, I already have one up right now. But in the meantime, let's get into this.
Oh!
There you go. UH defeats East Texas A&M University. Bows get revenge after November 22, when it was called Texas A&M Commerce. And as mentioned, the final score was 100-74. And I'll tell you this, that was a game that had a little bit of everything, both good and bad, but a lot of it was good.
Whoa. Come on, Gytis. Yo! All right!
Now, the only thing that really stood out to me was the fact that it started out a little rocky, where UH went 3 for 15, and East Texas A&M didn't do much better. They were 5 for 12 or something like that. But UH was able to pick things up and get more shots to come their way. That was after they had gone through a 9-minute scoring drought. But the good news was they were able to keep the lead. And I'm more than willing to call that a double-edged sword, because if you're going through a scoring drought and your opposing team is making their shots, that can be a nightmare in itself. And UH knows that better than anyone, because 2 seasons ago against UC Santa Barbara, UH went 10 minutes without a field goal, including free throws. And unfortunately, that was when Santa Barbara just ran away from them after the first half. But this time, UH was able to make their free throws and save their bacon. But in comparison to that Santa Barbara game that I mentioned, UH didn't really go to the line all that much. But this time, they did, because the Lions got a lot of fouls that came their way. And in fact, UH was in the double bonus before the 10-minute mark. And what that tells me is that not only were the refs kind of a little nitpicky or calling it really tight, and you can't really blame them. I mean, I don't blame them at all. Some of them had some legitimate contact, and some of them were kind of not so much. But still, I don't blame the officials. If that was on UH, I probably wouldn't be blaming them at all. But then again, there are some people who might. And they would have a good case against them. The guy who led, actually two guys led, Hunter Erickson with 15, and he was a perfect 5 for 5 from the field, including 3 for 3 from outside the arc. And none other than South Dakota transfer Bullock, who also had 15 and had a lot of authoritative slam dunks. And in fact, those two were the leaders of 7 Rainbow Warriors. That's right, 7 of them who scored double digits. Others included Harry Rouhliadeff, Gytis Nemeikša, and Isaiah Kerr, just to name a few.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah!
So, what kind of grade would I give this game? Considering they went through that long drought, that 9-minute drought in the first half, but they were able to keep things going and be able to keep the lead, I would probably give that game maybe a B+. But then again, to see them score 100 points will probably put them on the cusp of an A-, but I would kind of lean more towards a B+, because that 9-minute scoring drought is kind of hard to forget. It's kind of hard to ignore a stat like that. But if you come away the winner, I'm more than willing to call that a double-edged sword. And in fact, that's what I am doing, because UH came away the winners, and they were able to make their free throws. And as a result, UH shot 52 free throws, which was a school record. 52, 54 free throws. But either way, it was a school record that night, which is why I would kind of give them a B+, mainly because of that scoring drought. But obviously, it's basketball. Droughts like that will happen. But still, for UH to come away with this emphatic win is a statement in itself. Now, how did it get so much? Now, how did the gap get to be so big? Because Hunter Erickson drained a triple here, which was enough to generate an 18-3 run for UH to close the first half. And from that point on, UH was able to cruise. And that's what happens when you can finally put things together. And once your shots start to fall, that can be a big confidence booster for sure. And they definitely proved that 1-point loss at Oregon was just a bump in the road. I was very, very encouraged by that. But why would I give this game a B+? Obviously because of that scoring drought. But fortunately, they were able to win it by making their free throws. And if you make your free throws, more than likely you're going to win. If you don't make your free throws, you're probably not going to win. But if you do come away with the win, it's going to be by the skin of your teeth. Now, the guy that I thought really came through, besides Bullock and Hunter Erickson, was Isaac Finlinson. And he's another guy who scored in double figures. He had a dozen. And he's definitely proving that Oregon game was no fluke for him. And he looks like he could be becoming that sixth man off the bench anyway. And with the injury to Tanner Cuff, which likely means he could be out for the season, although the word is not official yet. But odds are, when you hear knee injury, more than likely it means the entire season. And that's why I find Tanner Cuff, I'm petitioning the NCAA for a medical redshirt year. And if it worked for Juan Munoz, it should work for Tanner Cuff. So that was a great game, and I was very, very glad to see UH come through with that win. They did not subject themselves to a giant run, but if you can make up for it with as big a run as Oregon did in that case, I'm more than willing to overlook that and call that a bump in the road. And while the Lions did get close with a 6-0 run, UH was able to answer the bell and be able to pull away. And as a result, the Lions did not get closer than 25 points. That was the closest they could get in the second half once UH got out front. So, obviously, I had to get this out of the way because the next game is against Mississippi Valley State. This is a team that I'm very familiar with because we've been able to beat them just about, if not every single time. But they're a good program, and you can't let your guard down because if you do, that's when things will go wrong. And that's a team that can sneak one away from you. But still, I'm putting UH for as the favorites by, I'm going to say 8-point favorites. But if they happen to do better than that, that's going to be a big statement for sure. Now, how did UH get to 100? Obviously, they made their free throws. And Hunter Carter, one of the newcomers, scored his first point as a Rainbow Warrior, which turned out to be number 100 in the game for UH off a free throw.
All right, 100 points.
So shout out to Hunter Carter. I'm looking for big things from him. I'm sure that he's going to be around for a long time at UH, maybe go through all 4 years, and especially since we're moving to the Mountain West. And obviously, we're going to need to get a lot of recruits. I'm sure that we won't have much of a problem, but obviously, that's proof to score 100 points in 2 of the 3 games that they played, at home anyway. To score 100 points in 2 of the 3 home games played is a big statement in itself. Now, UH did score only 59, and obviously, as Javon McClanahan once said, if you score in the 50s or 60s, you're probably not going to win the game. And unfortunately, that was the case. But if you stay within your opponent and the shooting night is not looking that great, then everything's moot. Obviously, that 60-59 loss for UH at Oregon. Make no mistake, Oregon's a good program. But still, to be able to keep pace with them, I was encouraged as well, and I was very encouraged by this performance against East Texas A&M because they were able to come through with a big run to end the first half and cruise in the second half. Now, obviously, they didn't let off the gas, which is good, and I would like to see some more guys get some more playing time that they deserve, mainly AJ Economo and maybe Hunter Carter to a point, but obviously it is only 2 games, really, 4 if you count the exhibitions, but still, it's still early in the season, and I suspect that everybody will get their chance. Now, in total, 11 bows scored. The only guy who didn't score, unfortunately, was Aaron Hunkin-Clater. Now, obviously, was I looking for big things from Aaron? Maybe not yet, because he is coming off of an injury. And I do look for him to be a much better player. I look for him to get better as the season goes on. And I'm not going to doubt that he's going to lead the scorers in an upcoming game before the season's over. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I sure hope so. But he's got the talent to do that. And if he can figure it out, this team will be good to go and be extra special. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Obviously, next game is against Mississippi Valley State on Wednesday, November 12th. So I had to get this out of the way real quick. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And remember, subscribe, and I'll see you all for the recap after the Outrigger Rainbow Classic. I'm probably going to wait until at least 2 of these games are gone. Maybe I might do the third as a separate, but we'll see. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. And remember, subscribe. I'll see you all again. Go Bows!
Congratulations.